This video is made from adult collectors because old bro here just kept getting his butt kicked in the show. There he is. Wait, that's not what So the G-axis mold was pretty fun, but I found myself not messing with it much, apart from turning green and brown. Thank God that's fixed. But he was just a cool looking dude that sits on my headcanon Nova Prime crew shelf. But then they did what most people thought they were going to do and made a Vector Prime out of this. And man, does this change the mold for me. Yes, I wish the legs had cogs on them and not wires, but like that's my only visual flaw. The hinges on the leg don't bug me. It's not the first time they've done this. For context, the Cybertronian Bumblebee and the Jeep Bumblebee use very similar torsos. Cybertronian Bumblebee doesn't have this like armature thing, but it has the exposed clip just hanging out. But yeah, other than that, it looks great. I very much like the colors. The off-white has its place here and it works quite well. That mixed with the burgundy and the bits of gold and the metallic blue is just chef's kiss. He does share quite a bit with G-axis, but there's enough here that's different to make them look and feel like different toys. And I like this a lot better than I like G-axis. I also kind of dig some of the smaller details like the gloss of the belly circle and the different colored thigh swivels going on in the legs. He also retains the opening hands so he can still look pretty intimidating sitting in a chair, though the wings, they'll get in the way for that. The wings are probably the biggest change on this guy because instead of the little foldy-uppy bat wings on his back, he has these giant cape parts, which I have been told on some, they like to fall off due to their attachment points. On mine, it's here at this joint. I can probably polish it up and fix it, so it's fine. The clear blue is super lush, but it feels ever so slightly softer than your average clear plastic so that it doesn't snap. And the sword is made out of that same material too, so you don't have to worry about it. I like that. Love the head. It's very Vector Prime with the blue face and the off-white cheeks. He comes with a cyber key and a sword. The cyber key does have 2 tabs to peg into his belly like the old toy, and a 5mm port so it can peg into the sword or literally anything else with a 5mm peg. And the sword has a normal plastic handle so that you don't have to be worried about the handle snapping off. It's pinned in. I like that. Now, one of the best things about this, the thing that made me have so much fun with it so far, is the posing. Similar to Bludgeon, you give this mold a sword and he instantly becomes more posable than the original one with a gun. Now, before I quickly get into this guy's posing, I wanted to talk about this thing a little bit because I'm not going to be doing a full video on this, but I did also get this rock dude, and the shiny paint here, the shiny paint here, and the shiny silver paint here, it is extremely shiny in person, and it looks really, really nice. And so if they can pull this off again, I feel like, because vac metal is extremely expensive, if they were to do new trans metal toys, they could use a really shiny metallic shade like this to pull that off, because that I think works as a good replacement for chrome, but I like this. Anyways, Vector Prime. If you have the G-axis mold, it's pretty much 85% the same. So the head is on a ball joint, but it can't really look up that far, or at least as far as G-axis could, but it can look down that far. He's a little wonky. There we go. You got your head tilt, your rotation. Shoulders can do a full 360. They can go out at the collar. They're trigger-happy hot rod shoulders, but they don't get in the way, so they work fine. And also, if you want the shoulders to be out, but like proper, you can undo the double hinge and bring it out there. And from certain angles, that looks pretty fine. The shoulder pads can also unpeg and move. You have bicep rotation, single jointed elbow that bends more than 90, wrist rotation, hands open and close. Though I find when opening this hand, it undoes the little trap door that holds his fist in place. Like that's a bit strange. It does have a waist joint. The hips can go forward, they can go back, in and out, thigh rotation. Over much further than 90 degrees of bend at the knee at a single joint, which is awesome. Ankles can go up and down, and he has pivot. And then these wing pieces. So they do peg in. They peg in right here, a little tab, and they're supposed to like slot in like that. It's not the most secure connection in the world, but it's a connection. But they have a rotation joint here, a rotation joint here where if you go any further than this, it comes out. So don't go any further than that because it'll just push itself out. You have a rotational joint down here, and then these can swivel as well. So the wings can pretty much get out of the way and accommodate everything you want. I also like to use them as pseudo flight stands if I want to get him into a low down pose because they hit the table and they'll keep him balanced. So yeah, that's the wings. The only real difference from this and G-Axis is the shoulder pads, like the way the shoulders look, and all of the wing stuff is different. Everything else is about the same. So yeah, I think this works quite well as Vector Prime. Now let's make him the Vector Prime jet weird thing of doom. I don't know. I just realized I recorded the entire articulation segment with my fan on, so you're going to hear fan noises. Oh well, I turned it off now. Let's make him a jet. So it's pretty much the same as G-Axis, except the torso has some slight changes and the backpack is completely different. So to start with, we're going to open up these panels, rotate the fists in, and then fold the shoulder pads down like that. And then I'm just going to bring the shoulders out. I'm going to remove the Cyberplanet key because you have to do that as well because it goes in a different spot. Then we're going to rotate these up and bring the backpack out. It now pegs in a lot more securely with a 5mm post as opposed to just a tiny little clip thingy. Then you bring the upper torso out, fold the head in, bring the lower torso out, close this up. And then the new step is that. That's it. You rotate the chest. Then you bring the arms down, and then we are going to rotate this 180 degrees. And then the legs just work the same exact way as the original G-Axis toy. You fold out the tail fin, you bring the legs in, it will collapse and peg together. So we'll just do that on both sides. I kind of wish they'd remove the tail fin because the original Vector Prime doesn't have this. You can probably take it off. I think it's just on like a friction clip. But I do kind of wish it wasn't there because you can't really fold it away. Because once you fold the arms in, let's just peg the arms in real quick. I'll show you. Peg, come on, peg in. There we go. Once you peg the arms together and in, and you fold this up, it hits the arms and it doesn't go away. So you're like, oh, we'll move the arms, but then it gets stuck here, and then the arms have this like extra bit of plastic in the middle of them that they won't peg in super securely. So I wish that was removed in favor of like more paint somewhere or something. It doesn't look bad, but if I want it to be accurate slightly, then it would have to get rid of that. Anyways, you bring the knees up, bring this section down, clip the knees into place, very, very hard clip, rotate the wings, and then they will peg into the wing pegs that are on the original G-Axis. So just get that all lined up there. Now the Cyber Key stores up here. Now it pegs in, peg in right there. There we go. And then the sword just kind of goes underneath. I wish it had a nicer place to go, but that's where it goes. And there you have the jet mode. That's a bit of a stout ship, but I still like it. The back could use a bit more color, but again, the white works a lot better for me here than the nylon white of the original G-Axis, which is just kind of blinding to look at. The arms still unceremoniously hang out at the bottom, but they look less like bricks and more like intakes kind of because they're round. And the tail fin, again, I wish it could be folded away, but it does still work here. It looks like a tail fin. It should belong. There is also a Minicon peg at the top. I don't have Safeguard or any other Minicons on hand at the moment, but he can hold like the new Jolt, so that works. I just really like this figure. It's such a nice remake of the original Cybertron toy, able to do so much on a partial budget. I definitely recommend this if you want a good Vector Prime. I love the way that the colors, the metallic blues, and the golds and the burgundies all work on this off-white. It really does look like an ancient clockwork transformer, which is what Vector Prime was in Cybertron. And this just really captures that quite well. Yes, I wish the jet was more pointy. Yes, I wish he had cogs in his legs instead of wires. And yes, I wish the legs had a little bit more color. But the overall experience of this thing still is enjoyable. It's quite fun, and I highly recommend it. But that's been my look at Legacy Cybertron Vector Prime. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.